Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Bear Pen and our season finale for Season 1 of Fallout Windy Wasteland, aka Episode 8, Sky King. So, tonight we will be, again, like I said, wrapping up this first season here of the series, but as I mentioned in a couple of episodes past here at this point, we will be doing a Season 2 of this series, so things will be coming back, which means, just as a precursor preamble, don't expect necessarily all of the various plot threads to get themselves tied up nice and neat in a bow. In fact, don't be surprised if new plot threads open themselves up tonight, actually, as we move along. So, with that all in mind, we'll go ahead and kick off with introducing our wonderful cast here for this evening. We'll start off once again with Danny. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, let folks know where they can find you online, and let them know a little bit about Aiden.
Hi, I'm Danny Moth. You can find me at mxmoth on Twitter and Instagram. And I missed you guys. I'm playing Aiden. Yay. I'm playing Aiden, everybody's favorite bruiser. What do we want to call her? I don't know. Figure it out in the chat.
I like it.
I think Bruiser's pretty well appropriate for Aiden. All about the knuckles and not really about the verbal communication there. So it's absolutely wonderful to have you back again, Danny, and I'm looking forward to diving into the season finale here with you. And then next up, we have our other resident vault dweller. That will be Ari. Why don't you go ahead and let folks know a little bit about yourself, where they can find you online, and something about Katya.
Ari, I am a community manager here and partner here at the Bear Pen. So you've seen me in a couple of our shows here, Fallout, of course, and then Blood on the Bayou is Elijah. I also pop up over on our friend Kira's channel on their YouTube, Cookout TTRPG, where I play in Rivenwood and Reclamation. Online, you can find me at Small Shadow Snack, which is possum horde at this point. It's fine. It's all fine. But here I play Katya, the mother hen of the group, who is in no way just wanting to get back and see her baby boy, who is not a baby.
Not a baby at all. No, not in the least. And probably would be driven nuts by mom returning and being overbearing again. But hey, that might be what they have to deal with in life. So it's absolutely wonderful to have you here. And then last but not least, we have the wonderful Winter. Why don't you go ahead and let folks know about yourself, where they can find you online, and a little bit about Betty.
Absolutely. My name is Winter, and you can find me on all the social medias at gmistresswinter. And I can be found here at the Bear Pen on the occasional streaming games. I have also popped up at the Community Plays with Hunters Entertainment as well. And I am playing Betty, the wonderful homemaker model of the Mr. Handy line of robots.
And it's so fantastic that the Vault Dwellers got to pick up that little bit of nostalgia for themselves outside of the Vault and having a wonderful robot companion travel with them through the wasteland here. So looking forward to diving into everything and to all of the adventures to come as well as we move forward. Now, with that in mind, let's go ahead and dive right in. As we last left off, for everybody watching at home, our Vault Dwellers found themselves in the post-war settlement known as Underpass. What they had discovered was that this settlement was actually founded by the former residents of Vault 66, which our intrepid group had actually taken a little bit of time previously before coming here to investigate a little bit, noticing that the power of the vault, the reactor itself was still up and running. It's just that the power was being diverted to auxiliary systems and also maintaining critical systems within the vault itself. But now they've come to realize that more than likely, due to the fact that this city is made up of those former residents, that Underpass is probably the location where the power itself is running to. After arriving here, they did a little bit of shopping at the general store in the town, and while that was going on, eventually a couple members of what appeared to be Vault Security, but essentially now acts as the town's security force, and another resident in a Vault suit, came upon the group and arranged for Betty to go ahead and get some repairs at the local mechanic, while the two Vault dwellers in Aiden and Katya were taken off to go meet the Overseer, Overseer Grayson. And that is where we pick back up now, at 6:30 p.m. on the 18th of May in the year 2250. So, Aiden and Katya, as you're being escorted through the town here, as we mentioned last time, they're looking around. You can see a very clear delineation of what appears to be at least a few different castes of people that live here in the settlement. Those who seem to be in much more homely post-war attire. As far as you can tell, they make up the bottom rung of the city's echelons. Then there seems to be another class of citizens who adorn mostly pristine pre-war outfits, things that you have experienced primarily through various holotapes and books during your studies in the vault about what life was like before the time of the Great War, and everyone that you know at that time having moved into a vault. Beyond that, there then seems to be individuals who simply wear either a standard vault suit for Vault 66, though they do appear to be pristine, as though the city may still be somehow able to manufacture them, as you wouldn't expect that so far removed from potentially leaving the vault that they'd be so nice looking if they were just using hand-me-downs. And then there are also individuals who are wearing, much like yourselves, a vault security outfit that more than likely supply the town as their security force. The town itself is a combination of reclaimed pre-war buildings that weren't so structurally unsound after years of neglect that they couldn't still be used, as well as some newly fashioned adobe structures that the settlers clearly have built up amidst the ruins to start fleshing out this new post-war settlement. There are certainly more people here than any settlement that you've come across so far, with the only one that's fully operational being Mound View, and its 50 or so inhabitants. There's easily over 100 different residents dotted throughout this particular town. And they continue guiding you through a maze of different streets towards a particularly large, long adobe structure that sits up on a little tiny hillock, not as large as any of the hills you had seen in your previous travels. Now, at this point in Illinois, it's starting to kind of flatten out a bit and this site of a hill is becoming a little less common, so it does make this building much more prominent amongst the others around it. As you approach the building, in the distance, you happen to catch a glimpse of something that you weren't really expecting, but on the same note, most of this particular settlement has been unexpected. There seems to be a pre-war vertibird landed and parked a few hundred yards beyond the building that you're being guided up to. It does seem like it's in generally good condition and probably actually functional, which, compared to every other vehicle that you've seen so far, is saying quite a lot. They guide you up to the front door of the building and open it up and lead you inside. The two security officers break off to different parts of the building while the individual who is simply wearing a standard Vault 66 jumpsuit turns and smiles to both of you. He's a middle-aged man, maybe his mid-30s or so. He's got rather well-groomed hair, especially compared to, again, everything else that you've seen out here in the Wasteland. People tend to have much more slap-chop kind of hairstyles or have simply allowed their hair to naturally grow out. But he maintains his at a little bit above shoulder length, groomed fairly well, clean-shaven. And he smiles politely and says, "If you have a seat," as he walks you into what appears to be small waiting room outside of a couple other doors that lead off of the location here. And he does motion over to a few seats as he starts walking off towards one of these doors and opens it up and steps inside, shutting the door behind him.
You're just very
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you what? Huh?
She just very gingerly takes a seat.
It's still like being sent to the principal's office. Every time. Doesn't matter what fault it is, it all feels the same.
It seems the story for Aiden, at least, is beginning its conclusion the same way that it began. You wait for a few moments. It's generally quiet and peaceful in the waiting room. There's few reclaimed pre-war pieces of art hung up on the walls. A potted plant that looks like it's seen better days. They seem to be struggling to try to keep it going great in this post-nuclear world. After a few moments, the door that the individual went into opens back up, and he pops his head back out and says, "Mr. Grayson will see you now," and motions you to come into the room. Upon entering, you find yourself in the best way to describe it would be a facsimile of an overseer's office from any vault. The room is a standard square room, and they have set up a layout that just immediately strikes you of that. There's some lockers on the one wall, a few chairs in front of a large desk that isn't quite the horseshoe shape that you would expect from an overseer's office, but it seems that they've taken a couple of reclaimed pre-war desks from around various places and placed them together in a way to sort of make that same general pattern. There is a terminal sitting on the desk there in front of the overseer, who is a maybe late 20s, early 30s, African-American gentleman. Short hair. Very tight. He's got a very nicely maintained and trimmed, very subtle goatee. Keeps it more at the stubble length than letting the hair grow long. Wearing a vault suit, much like the other individuals who seem to be at the top echelons here in the city of Underpass. And he's smiling broadly as you both enter the room. "Ah, wonderful. Joseph, you can leave us. The other gentleman immediately steps out of the room. It's an absolute distinct pleasure to meet you both. You must imagine my surprise when I heard that our security team had just seen what appeared to be a couple of vault dwellers making their way into the city. As you can imagine, that's outside of our own people, not something we really see every day. Tell me, which vault is it that you come from?
Need to remember that. Aiden just looked at Katya.
This is Vault 53.
Okay. She's still just gonna look at Katya.
Psst, look on your back.
Well, I think you can tell from our suits which vault we come from.
Well, as a reminder, your security uniform, the armor of it, actually
Mhm.
covers up the number on the back of your vault suit.
Doesn't the helmet have it?
It just has a Vault Tech logo emblazoned on it.
We're from Vault 53.
53. That was up north, wasn't it? Somewhere in southern Wisconsin, as I recall.
Yes, it's very far away.
And you're all still living in there.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to not living in there.
Well, certainly at this point, it's been hundreds of years since the war.
Sure.
Fascinating. You've been able to maintain supplies this whole time.
Mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Well, if that's the case, then what brings you out into the wider world?
We are looking for a thing.
What kind of thing?
Like a chip to repair a reactor.
Oh. I suppose you probably went over to 66, didn't you? Well,
What's supposed correctly?
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but obviously we're still making use of the reactor in Vault 66. That's where we get our energy to run everything here in Underpass. It's quite the project. So I'm not sure that there's anything that we could do to really help with that. There are certainly other vaults around.
Would you know if those vaults needed their chip still?
Hard to say. I haven't gone to any of them myself, and from what I've heard, based on where each of them are, I know both in Chicago and Davenport and even around Peoria, they were all hit pretty hard during the war. Chicago specifically took multiple direct hits. There's still lots of lingering radiation around the ruins there. I've heard rumors that there's a few patches where you can get to that don't seem to be affected, but I imagine getting to the vault in that area would be very difficult. And I know that there were also vaults down in Peoria and Davenport, but again, each of those was hit during the war. There is still a lot of residual radiation in both of those places.
That's what we're afraid of. Do you have any idea where there might be another chip that's not in a vault?
Oh, geez. That's a toss-up, really. I know a lot of different pre-war facilities had reactors installed. You know, society made use of nuclear power like it was going out of style. But heck, even some fueling stations tend to have reactors at them. Whether or not it's going to be compatible with the Vault-Tec equipment, that I couldn't say. I haven't really tried to replace a chip on any reactor myself. I suppose I could get you in contact with our chief engineer. They might be able to speak more to that, but
That would be
that
very helpful.
said, I feel it's prudent of me to make you aware of the reality of what's going on out here in the world, if at least if you're not aware already. Have you heard of the Brotherhood of Steel?
No.
No.
Oh, well, gosh, how do I put this? They're kind of this militant, quasi-religious techno cult. A lot of them like to claim that they're the remnants of the old U.S. military. They've got access to just absurd technologies. And we've been having a bit of a problem with them. Hell, everybody around here's been having a problem with them, and if Vault 53 is still running, I can only imagine how fast the Brotherhood's going to be knocking at your door once they find out. They're already trying to conscript us. Do you see that vertibird out back?
Yeah, hard to miss.
Yeah, that's theirs. They've got they keep sending over these patrols. From what I understand, they say they want to offer us protection. As you can imagine, there's a lot of threats out here. But it comes with a catch. Like I said, they want to conscript us. Forcibly recruit up members of our population to fill their ranks. For agreeing to that, they promise general protection from any threats like raiders and things of that nature. But we'll get wrapped up in their ranks, and that's not really great for us. Historically speaking, the Brotherhood's been difficult since they showed up here. God, I think probably been about 100 years or so, maybe. Yeah, I'd have to look back through the records. I know we've been dealing with them ever since I came into office. The biggest problem is that they're not big on sharing. My gut tells me if we fall in line, not only are they going to just pillage our population, they're going to take what we have for their own means. Primarily speaking, the Vault Tech reactor. That makes us a little vulnerable. We've been doing what we can to keep the vault itself protected. But to be frank with you, our efforts are kind of floundering at this point. It's really hard to match the firepower that these guys have. I'm sure you read about power armor in your studies.
Yeah, sure read a lot about it.
Well, about the only place you're going to see it out here is in the hands of the Brotherhood, at least in my experience. I've seen some, like, raiders and stuff take frames from power armor and graft together unpowered protection from it. Really bulky, heavy stuff. But actual functional power armor, and it's not just like there's a lot of them with it. Energy weapons that I've never seen before outside of their hands. What I'm saying is, maybe we can help each other out.
All right, that sounds like arrangement is about to come.
So I'm not going to lie. The main reason that we're a target for them right now, like I said, is that reactor. Having to continue to use that as our primary source of power puts a bullseye on us. Now, our chief engineer was working on something. If you help him, it should solve our energy situation and allow us to get off of that reactor. If we can get off that reactor, I don't see any reason why y'all couldn't take the parts that you need, which would disable the thing and hopefully get the Brotherhood off our backs for a little while. I don't think it'll be a permanent solution by any stretch of the imagination. They do still seem pretty hell-bent on roping up anyone they can at this point. Seems their numbers have been faltering a little bit under their old dogmatic approach to things.
So we hope you get a new power source and we can have the chip.
Yeah. Although, like I said, I don't know how good it's going to do you. Because even if you can keep your vault up and running, it's only going to be a matter of time before the Brotherhood's knocking at your door. Like I said. If you want my honest recommendation, when you get a chance to get back to your vault, I'd tell them to get the hell out of there. You're just going to run out of supplies eventually if you don't start getting things in place to be sustainable. Records show that the vaults were designed to last a couple hundred years, so you're starting to push up against what I have to imagine are going to be rationing issues among all sorts of other problems. But if you are dead set on it, like I said, if you can help us, I'd be inclined to help you.
I honestly don't know how much help we're going to be, but I suppose it's always worth it to try.
Yeah, all we can really do is try.
Splendid. And as a sign of good faith, we made arrangements after seeing the damage that your droid had to get it all patched up for you. Consider it on the house. I'll have security go ahead and reunite you with your robot and get you over to our head of engineering. They'll be able to tell you a little bit more about what we're going to need to have done.
All right.
Eleanor, he kind of chimes out, and a young woman pokes her head in from a different door off of the office than what you had initially come in through. Go ahead and get security to escort them back to their robot. She goes off and rounds up a couple members of the security force who come and walk you back through the town. As you're leaving the administrative building here, kind of looking around, you notice that the vertibird that you had seen when you had initially come in seems to have taken off at this point. You can actually see it up in the sky, flying off into the distance as a little speck. They guide you back down into the main market and back over to the mechanics, where at this point it looks like the work on Betty is being finalized here. They're finishing buffing the outer chassis and making it so that you can't really necessarily directly see where the bullet had pierced through.
Oh, girls, I certainly do love a spa day. I would love for you to join me.
Oh, that's Betty's sad.
Come on in, you can get your nails done.
And the mechanic, who's probably in their mid-40s or so, you'd say, just from the look of them. It's a lady with probably about mid-back length hair pulled back into a ponytail. It's a little greasy. She's wearing a vault suit as well, but one of the utility style jumpsuits. Her hair's starting to gray out a little bit. It looks like it was probably blonde at one point, but it's now mostly faded to a kind of whitish gray. And she kind of gives Betty a little perplexing side look as she offers you to come get your nails done. Well, I mean, I could always give it a shot, darling, but not really my cup of tea.
Well, I noticed that you back there, you have some body paint. You just put that on with a little bit of lacquer. It'll be fantastic.
I mean, if you ladies are interested.
Yeah, maybe a little later. I know. We've got a couple things to do.
Oh, of course, we're gonna do all the errands.
It's definitely a big errand.
Well, if you don't mind getting that one last spot, I'll leave a generous tip and head out with my girl.
Mac finishes buffing up the chassis of Betty there, and all right, well, that should do it. You be careful now out there. It's that kind of damage can really do a number on a robot like you.
Well, I do like to keep my figure, so I will be back if anything happens.
And with that, the security goes ahead and starts walking you from the mechanic to what appears to be yet another adobe structure in the town itself. There's a number of strange little panels dotted around outside of this building. Not something that you're necessarily overly familiar with, either one of you. And as you're guided inside, you see a very young gentleman. Late teens, early 20s. He's sitting at a desk and looks very stressed and frustrated as he's flipping through a series of, from what you can tell, looks like blueprints for some kind of device. Again, just judging by the drawings themselves, you're able to quickly piece together that it's probably for whatever these panel things are that you're seeing outside of this building. Just, there's no way we're going to be able to, we don't have the, I don't know what they want me to do. And eventually he looks up and sees you all as you enter in. Oh, what? Oh. And the security who had guided you here looks over at them. Thomas, we got a bit of help for you. We know you've been struggling with this whole power situation, and Overseer Grayson thought it might be best to get you a couple of spare hands. And, well, surprise, surprise, we've got a few vault dwellers in town from a neighboring vault, so we thought that might be the best help that you'd be able to get your hands on. Plus, look, they got a robot. All of ours have shit the brick at this point, so that should help. Thomas.
We don't give off fecal matter.
Thomas, well, I can certainly use the help. All right, fine. Are you sticking around to help? And security smirks and shakes their head. I don't see what all I could help you with. And turns and walks out of the building. All right, so, pleased to meet you.
You seem flustered. Don't worry. Just take a nice deep breath. Why don't you relax in your chair and I will grab you a drink of water.
He takes your advice and pauses for a moment, breathes in deeply, and sorry. It's a pleasure to meet you all. My name's Thomas. I'm the head of engineering here in Underpass. Not the most glamorous job in the world, but keeps me out of the dregs, so I can't complain. So, y'all are gonna give me a hand. Is that so?
Lending a hand might be the only useful thing any of us can do.
Well,
I'm much more skilled with the pincers, and I have a heating element.
well, that should prove useful. And maybe the three of you could... I mean, you've been out wandering around in the Wasteland, I assume. No vaults super nearby beyond our own, so you had to have come from somewhere distant.
Aiden just tries to look at the number on her back again and realizes she still can't see it.
We did. We came from Vault 53.
I have no idea where that is. I just know there's no vaults anywhere super close by. So,
Not true. Your own 66 is right over there.
well, yeah, but y'all obviously didn't come from there. I know that much. But you know, if you've got experience wandering the wasteland, see that's my biggest problem. To do what I'm trying to do here, and he pats his hand down on the blueprints sitting on his desk. It takes some very particular materials. It's not something I'm really qualified to be able to do myself, and it's not really things that, at least, I mean, You could manufacture them, but we don't have the facilities to do so. So maybe you guys could help me out with that.
Don't you fret none. That's what we're here for. Neighbors help neighbors.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. All right.
Totally getting everybody into this, whether they want to or not.
And he quick grabs a piece of paper and starts jotting down a list of various items. And he hands it across the desk over to the group of you. That list should pretty much cover what I'm missing at this point to at least get us up and running. It won't be the same. We won't be outputting as much as that reactor is, but I mean, hell, honestly, we only use about 15% of what that outputs anyway. So I figure this will at least get us going.
Oh yay, a simple shopping trip. This will be fun.
Yeah, this sounds like a lot of fun, and she's gonna like look at the list to try and see what's on it.
There are a number of items on there. The vast majority of it is constituent materials, things like plasteel and acid and chlorine, and not very common items that you would expect to see all over the place out in the wasteland, but certainly things that you might be able to find from various things here and there that you could break down and eventually get. So different constituent parts. From a gameplay perspective, they would qualify as rare materials, which are a bit trickier to come by, but can certainly be done. There are also a few random items that would normally be qualified as junk, quote unquote, compared to what you would normally encounter out there. So things like a few sensor modules, a conductor, and a large capacitor. Again, all items that are probably findable out in the wasteland, but aren't going to be necessarily immediately so. It's certainly quite the busy list that he slid over to you here.
Aiden's just going to reach into a pocket and pull out that sensor module that she found however many days ago and just
Yeah,
hand it
those
to-
exactly. I'm going to need 15 of those.
Well, I have one.
Well, I have 14 then.
Okay.
Where would you say the best place to find these would be?
Oh gosh, at this point your guess is probably as good as mine. I mean honestly, I've never left Underpass.
Well,
Where
that's
do you-
not very useful. Maybe we need a phone book, a directory.
Or at least maybe an idea of where these might be. Not
So go
necessarily
ahead and
located,
give me an intelligence plus repair check. That's going to be a difficulty 2. And since I believe repair uses a different stat, if I remember correctly, that'll be a
It's
custom one.
intelligence.
Oh, it is? Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So just a standard repair check.
Who's that?
All of you can make it actually if you want to.
Awesome.
This-
Woohoo! Look at that.
Nice.
3 successes.
Hey. Excellent. Let's see.
All right.
Would the complication be headache by any chance?
Sure, I'll actually go for that. So that's going to give you your difficulties are going to increase by 1 on any intelligence-based check that you make for the next couple hours. However, Betty, after sending one of your eye stalks over to parse the list in Katya's hand there, you realize that the vast majority of these things are going to be able to be found in potentially just any number of pre-war ruins. Some of the more specific components, like conductors and things like that, you'd expect to find in maybe like pre-war factories or things of that nature. Sensor modules are probably going to be the most easy to come by out of all of the items on the list, actually. They're used in numerous different facilities. I mean, honestly, even some pre-war ovens will occasionally have a sensor module still intact in them. Numerous Red Rocket or Poseidon fuel stations could potentially have them still intact, as well as sometimes even office facilities may even have them, depending upon what kind of systems that the office had in place. So those are going to be fairly easy and generally common to come by. Some of the rare materials are what you think is going to be the biggest issue. For a lot of those, it's almost going to be a luck type situation on what you manage to find that you can break down, because those are all constituent pieces. You wouldn't expect to find them very frequently on their own, although it's not necessarily impossible. For instance, like if you happen to find like a plasteel factory, you'd more than likely find some just general plasteel within that. But beyond that, it's going to be finding products that are made with these materials and then being able to successfully break those products down into usable constituent parts. So that's the really involved part of the task. But with that said, this theoretically does start off a new quest for all of you. So at this point, each of you will be able to go ahead and restore your luck points.
Oh, yay.
So I
'cause
believe
needed that
for
life.
Aiden, that'll put you back at 5, and then for both Betty and Katya, that's going to be 6 luck points that you will be back to now. And I will actually go ahead and update that on screen as well for everyone playing along at home. So, now, he kind of pauses for a second, lifts up his arm, and as you can see, and this is also true of many of the other Vault suit folks that you've seen roaming about the town, they do all still seem to have Pip-Boys that they wear on their arms. And he lifts it up and takes a look at it, and he's, oh, just about 7 o'clock. Are you... Well, I can't imagine that you're all going to want to head out tonight. Do you have a room already over at...
Afraid not.
Well, I can offer you beds if you want to sleep here. I mean, it's just I got some old mattresses out back.
That's fine. I mean,
Otherwise,
just
there's
gonna-
the visitor center. He kind of points absently off in a direction out into the wider world there of the town.
I mean, all we really need is a place to sleep. I'm not opposed to just a mattress.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with mattress.
All right, well, they're just out back. You're welcome to help yourselves. they're covered, so if it storms or anything like that, you'll be fine.
Any place around here you can get some food?
Oh yeah, Tina's Bar and Grill. And he points in another direction, absently, off into the town. Got a big sign. You can't miss it.
All right.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right. And what are you all up to then?
Well, food probably I think would be a decent idea.
We should go out and celebrate becoming career girls.
I think,
That's good enough reason, isn't it?
yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
And that reminds me, Betty actually rolled well enough on the repair test there that y'all will get an extra action point from that. So just as a reminder, you are up to 3 action points in your pool now.
Halfway to full.
Haha. So, I take it you're going to all head over to the bar and grill then? Or, well, as you're walking through town, you do notice a couple of other establishments that seem to be set up around here. So there was Bob's Bits that you had stopped in at previously and sold off some of the junk and extra stuff that you had about, and Aiden, you went ahead and picked up, just again for the folks playing at home, got yourself a tool kit, a first aid kit, and picked up a backpack to make it a little easier to lug around all this stuff that you've been accumulating and carrying over time. Beyond that, you do see another little adobe structure, because Bob's is built into what was a reclaimed pre-war building. Next door, in a little adobe structure, you see a sign that says Threads and More painted onto the face of the building there. A little bit further down, there is H&H Arms. Then you can also see the large visitor center, which is kind of a circular type structure with a little bit of a pointed roof to it. Again, another adobe structure, something that was added to this area after the Vault Dwellers themselves had come here. And then there's also the Underpass Medical Center. Again, it's another adobe building that has been fashioned post-war. There's Mac's Machine Shop, where you obviously picked Betty up at. And then finally, Tina's Bar and Grill, which is another establishment that's been set up in a pre-war building that has been reclaimed by this settlement. So, out of those, obviously I know you're going to eventually head to the Bar and Grill here, but does anything else strike anyone's fancy as you're heading along?
Not presently here.
Fair enough, fair enough. So you make your way over to Tina's there, and when you head in, it looks like there's a young man sitting behind the counter. He's wearing, looks like pre-war outfit of some form. It's hard to see in its entirety because he is also wearing an apron that covered in various food grease and debris all over it. A very kind of laid-back diner-type vibe going on here. And he smiles at each of you as you enter in, and feel free to take a seat anywhere. I'll be right over to grab your order. And there's a few tables and chairs set up throughout the main area of the building here.
Given a newfound paranoia for diners, does this place all seem above board?
I mean, as above board as I mean, to be fair, the last place that you went to, other than the food that they were cooking, seemed above board for the most part until
It's actually
things
kind of
clearly
nice.
weren't above board anymore. But no, as far as you can tell, like there doesn't seem to be anything too suspicious about it. You can already smell food cooking, and it certainly doesn't smell the way it did in that previous diner. Whether or not it
Doesn't
smells
smell like
good,
people.
yeah, it doesn't smell like cooking people. Whether or not it smells good is a subjective kind of opinion. Especially for your vault dwelling palates. You're still very used to a lot of pre-war food and things that aren't as common out here in the Wasteland that folks have started adopting to as their natural diet. And after a couple moments of you settling into a table there, the young gentleman walks over. Hey, I'm Derek. I'll take your order here today. What can we get you? And he slides a couple menus onto the table. They're very short. There's since it is a bar and grill, there is a small little alcohol portion of the menu where they've got beer and rum and vodka listed as available options, and then they have basically set their menu up as just a breakfast, lunch, dinner type menu. Right now, they would be on the dinner options because they've actually gone so far as to even designate what times of the day they run each of the different little parts of the menu there. And on there, you've got a couple of choices. There's Brahmin steak as an option. Bloatfly sliders. And
Old rad roach.
no, but probably just the two of those actually.
There are prices on the menu.
Yes, there are prices, in fact, on the menu there. So for a single meal, it is going to cost 20 caps, and that would get you either bloatfly sliders or Brahmin steak, as well as a beverage of your choice.
Holy caps.
Exactly. I've only got 29.
Can I get a fry?
But
I'm just gonna take a baked potato.
for us to split something, I mean, would that have any advantage for us?
What was that?
Would it be feasible for us to, I don't know, split something? Would that then have any advantage for us, or would splitting it then nullify the advantage of eating?
I would allow you to split it and each be able to go back one hunger tier.
Yeah, I mean, that seems all right to me.
Good for me. Yes, we split something.
All right, so you order a single meal there, and that's going to go ahead and pop you both back a single tier on your hunger tracks there. So that puts you both back down to tier 1 hunger at this point. And I will get that updated here real quick.
Is there a jukebox?
There
someplace
is.
to- Yeah. Teddy cruises on over to find some big band swing music.
Is the water they have here dirty, purified?
They do have access to a limited stock of purified water, which for the course of the meal that you paid for, you would get 1 purified water that you'd be able to have, that you could split between the 2 of you. Again, since purified water also normally for 1 person would move you 2 tiers on your thirst track, it would move each of you a single tier if you wanted to share it. Or at this point, since you're not actually at a tier of thirst yet, it would basically just reset the count before you would potentially move into another tier.
What would they charge for filling up a couple of empty bottles?
Go ahead and give me a barter check. And while
Cool.
you're giving me a barter check, Betty, go ahead and roll me a number of combat dice equal to your luck.
Ooh. Okay.
All right. There is, in fact, swing music.
Woohoo!
All right, and your barter was 0 successes. All right, that is fine, because it was a 0 difficulty check, so that is not a problem. You didn't roll any complications either. So it will be... How many bottles are you looking to fill?
2.
Call it 20. 10 a pop for purified water.
Sounds fair. Do that.
Betty comes back to the table, like clicking her pincers in time with music.
And after your meal, what are y'all up to?
That is a good question.
Maybe a little walk around before we go to bed. Scout out the town a bit more.
Get a lay of the land, yeah.
Yeah, you can absolutely take a little bit of time to stroll around the town there. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick...
I've never done any window shopping before. This will be fun.
It's at least nice to know that they've got something out here.
Aiden's gonna make a really sincere effort to try to dance with Betty.
Oh, my mechanical heart.
Go ahead and let's find out how well Aiden dances.
How well this is gonna go.
And I'm also curious to see how well Betty dances. So we'll go with...
Oh, okay.
We'll go with an athletics check.
Ooh, strength 2.
Yep.
Could I use agility instead?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'll keep the strength since I assume I'm leading and I got a success, so.
Nothing for me.
So it's not necessarily super fancy on Betty's part. It's still graceful enough, and Aiden begins kind of leading Betty around, holding onto the pincers. Dinner and dancing.
Aiden. Such a smooth dancer.
We all have layers.
Betty at least keeps from cooking And it says on her thruster.
Yes, does not manage to step on any toes, quote, quote.
Oops, didn't mean to give you those 3rd-degree burns on your feet.
Oopsie.
So is there any further shopping or anything that anyone wants to do this evening? I know before game, Betty, you had mentioned potentially wanting to get flamer fuel.
Yes.
Is that still on the agenda?
Yes. I mean, granted, don't have as many caps as I was hoping for, but sure.
Then you'd be swinging over to H&H Arms, and there are when you head in, the building's been set up to have a number of display spots where there are various weapons kind of tacked up onto the wall on display, ranging from melee weapons to small guns, all the way up to a couple basic energy weapons. You're pretty sure you notice a laser pistol and a laser rifle, just both basic models on display there. And then additionally, there are different bins with an assortment of different ammo types, each organized into their own particular caliber or type. And as you're parsing around, you do notice that they do seem to have a spot where there are some flamer fuel canisters that you would potentially be able to acquire there. Let me just double check the price on that.
I think it was 1 cap per unit.
More than likely. More than likely. Too far. There we go. Yes, it's going to be 1 per. And they have, let's say, there's 20 available, assuming you wanted to potentially purchase all of it.
Don't have that many caps. So I'm going to attempt to get a buy 2 get 1 free deal.
All right, go ahead and give me a barter check. It's going to
Alright.
be a difficulty of 3.
Oh. I've offended someone bad.
So with the complication there, there's a few different options that the book prescribes in regards to dealing with a trader and getting a complication. So I'm going to go ahead and utilize the option to increase the cost by a little bit. So it will be... let's call it... That'll be about 1.1 caps per, with the decimal place only coming into effect as you continue going up in bulk.
Well, probably only get about buy 5 units then.
Okay. So you will be able to get that for just the 5 caps then.
I have 9. I have 9 caps to slide to Betty to get more fuel.
Oh, you are.
You are so sweet. But please, save your cats. You'll need them more than I do.
Oh, no, this is important. And besides, I can always get more.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You are such a darling. Put it on her card then. You said
You said 9? Okay, so what's that? So it would be 15 for 14 units.
Yes.
Okay. That will doing math. I will give 3 caps back to Gotcha.
Did you get enough?
Oh, yeah.
oh yes, absolutely. All filled up.
Oh, good, good.
If I could kiss you, I certainly would. But not having lips kind of keeps me from doing that.
Well, let's certainly say that's a first.
What? Being kissed?
You can't tell it, but the tips of her ears are red.
Oh, my sweet darling. You've never kissed anyone?
You know, most of the people in the vault are a no-go, and it's weird because then I'd see them every day, and it's still weird. No, never been. All right, let's go. Let's go. I'm going to go to bed now.
Turns to Aiden.
Did you know about this?
Oh yeah.
Did you let this happen?
What was I supposed to do about it?
I don't know why. Betty's gained a lisp or something.
Well, obviously, we need to give Katya some romantic partnership.
I mean, I've been saying that for years, but it's true. It's a little bit thin in the vault.
Shallow pool size.
And you're like related to half the people in there, so
Yeah, I imagine the gene pool is very, very infinitesimal.
And you make your way as you chit chat slowly but surely back off to the lead mechanics or chief mechanics or engineer, sorry, their little domicile that they have set up and the small little guest wing that they essentially have available for you, which isn't so much a guest wing as a little awning out back of the building that has a couple mattresses underneath of it. And you settle in for the evening. At this point, they've gone ahead and gotten a good night's sleep, which brings us up to May 19th. And for the sake of simplicity here, we're going to go ahead and assume that after waking up in the morning, due to the fact that they are agreeing to help the citizens of Underpass here, they are graced with a free breakfast to get them going on their day. So we're going to also assume further that they are both at their peak as it concerns to both hunger and thirst at this point. So you are fully sated and fully hydrated at this point, which mechanics-wise means that you are at no tiers of thirst, hunger, or sleep at the moment. And that brings us to 8:15 in the morning on the 19th of May. Now, when you wake up, you're beckoned back inside, temporarily at least here. But before you go, would you mind if I take a quick look at your Pip-Boy?
Sure.
He reaches out and kind of presses a couple buttons, and you see it takes you over to the satellite overlay map that you have installed there. Oh yeah, you don't quite have all the details here. Let me just plug a few more things into your Pip-Boy here for you. And he presses a few more buttons, and as he does, you see the cursor moving around on the screen there, and then he places a few markers and dots them around your map here. And what he ends up placing on there are an assortment of additional settlements. He kind of goes through and starts explaining. So up here by where it says Kenosha, that place doesn't exist anymore. So there's this place called Dirt Haven that's set up shop there. It's a decent little community. You might be able to stop in there at some point if you're feeling so inclined. And then a little ways north of what is labeled as Crystal Lake on your map, he has another marker that he slaps in there. Here's a place that they call Woodstock. I don't know. It's they're kind of beatniks over there. It's a weird place, but if you're out searching about and need a place to stop, you could always stop in there. And down the road from Rockford a little ways, and there's a trading post. It's called the 8839. You can always pop in there. They connect up with a bunch of the other settlements in the area, and normally have traders rolling through. So there's usually a pretty good selection of stuff that you can find there. And then over here on the east, where it says on your map Clinton there is actually a settlement there. That's actually a place still. I think it kept the same name as from before the war, because they call it the same thing. I always thought it was named after the guy that set it up, but looking at your map here, it looks like it must have been the name of the pre-war settlement. And then down here to the southwest, there's a little farming community called Brahmanwood that you could always stop in at. It's especially if you go into the Chicago area and down into the south portion there. In particular, if you try to hit that vault at any point in time in your travels here. But those are all the places that I'm aware of anyway out there that there's actually, like, life. Because a lot of the things that I'm seeing on that you had marked here, they're just old ruins for the most part. I mean, you'd certainly be able to find stuff to salvage there, and maybe even find some of the things we're looking for. But as it pertains to actually, finding people, you'll probably want to stop in at these places around here. And I've gone ahead and in the chat there dumped you an updated version of the map that does include the map markers for all of those locations that we just discussed there. Now, as for where you should start, I don't know. That's really up to you. Like I said, a lot of these things you're going to want to probably, if you're going to go digging around in ruins and stuff, I'd suggest a bigger city, probably. Like, unfortunately, a lot of those, they were hit by bombs pretty hard in the war. So, as far as I know, they're a little dangerous. You might want to make sure you have protection before you head to them. Like I said, I know Peoria and Davenport and Chicago were all hit.
Well, it looks like there's a nice factory over in Rockford. Maybe we can find many of our materials there.
actually what I was also thinking. It could be at least a good place to start.
Just be careful, though. Rockford's where the Brotherhood operates out of.
You know, you could have started with that.
Well, that's what that little symbol is. That's the Brotherhood. So I am sure that we can talk our way past them.
All right,
Well,
so
But talking.
What was that?
Some of us are good at talking.
Katya does bring a certain charm to our little party.
I'm the talker. Okay. Oh, all right. We got this. It's fine. It's completely fine. Everything's fine. It's
Yes, you are. You're such a social butterfly.
she just kind of looks at Aiden like, when did this happen?
Lean into it. Like, fake it until you make it. I don't know. What do you want me to say here?
Okay. You know, we've got this. It'll be fine. It will be completely fine. We all have this. We're gonna get these items. We're gonna bring it back here. We're gonna get the chip, and we're gonna go home.
That's the spirit.
Absolutely. We're career girls now.
We are. It's fine. It's all fine. Everything's fine.
and before we set off into the wasteland and decide which direction it is that we'll be heading off into, although it sounds like we're probably going to just kind of make our way west here to the ruins of Rockford. Go ahead and everybody mark 65 experience onto your character sheets after having completed what would be phase 1, quote, quote, of the grander quest of trying to acquire this control chip.
Any chance I can get 66?
Are you one short of leveling?
Yeah.
Go ahead and take 66.
Thank you.
And if each of you leveled there, go ahead and add in your skill point to your character and to whichever skill that you want there. I believe the sheet should automatically update your hit points as soon as you tack over to the new level there. And
Unless I didn't add XP from when I wasn't here, I think Katya and I might be a little short.
It should be 611.
611. Okay.
Yeah, we remember, Alex, you gave us some XP and Danny wasn't here.
Yep.
Yes. In fairness, what this would be considered from a gameplay perspective is this would be a milestone award in the book. So essentially it's designed to just push you up to the next level, regardless of whatever experience you were still short. So I shouldn't have really called it 65. It's just push yourself up to the next level. As for your perks, if you do happen to know which one you wanted off the top of your head, if you had been plotting ahead on your characters at all, you're more than welcome to just go ahead and apply that now. Otherwise, by the time we come back next season, obviously, if you should hopefully have your new perks selected by then. Might put you at a slight technical disadvantage by not having your perk immediately selected if you don't know it off the top of your head what you want, but it won't be a huge thing, I imagine, in most cases here. So, as for traveling, which way are we going to be headed? Are we just taking the highway directly out of Freeport and heading towards Rockford there, or do we want to head somewhere else?
That's Betty's idea to go to Rockford. I don't know if anybody else has.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Rockford it is. No, sleep till Rockford.
We begin making our way east. And you travel for a little ways here, and you're maybe halfway through your journey. It's a couple hour walk for sure to get from Freeport over to Rockford there. But as you're moving along, eventually, just in the distance, you notice a somewhat familiar sight mixed with, I suppose, a worrying scene would be the best way to potentially describe this here. Now, as for where exactly you are for the folks playing at home, we've gone ahead and moved their little position marker here to, as you can see, roughly just about halfway between Freeport and Rockford there. And at this point, what you come across is, I'm going to reposition you all on Drive-Thru RPG real quick, so bear with me on that. Our Vault Dwellers and Miss Homemaker find themselves looking across a somewhat open field here, just off the highway, because as they were moving along the highway itself, at various points, it's kind of broken down to a level where you need to actually go off from the beaten path for a little bit before coming back onto the road, and this is in one of those patches where you've strayed away from the highway temporarily. And you find a vertibird landed out here, along with, from what you can see, it appears to be a group of soldiers. They're wearing what appears to be military-style fatigues with some combat armor over top of it. There's also an additional individual that you can still see inside the vertibird itself, although they do have a weapon drawn and are casting fire out. And then along with them is a walking tank of an individual dressed in a full suit of what would have been essentially the pinnacle of what was commonly in use by soldiers at the time of the Great War, the T-51 power armor. It's a very distinctive looking apparatus. Now, they are firing off and past some Wastelanders who seem to be in a bit of a scuffle with a number of large humanoid figures. They're, again, it's humanoid. They're bipedal, certainly. 2 arms, 2 legs, torso, head. But they don't look like any people you've ever seen before. Their skin is kind of a dullish green color. And compared to the Wastelanders, who they seem to be in a confrontation with, they dwarf them in size. They're easily 7 foot, maybe taller. Wildly muscular looking. Just massive specimens. And there seems to be a bloody battle ensuing here that you have stumbled onto. Now, as this all begins kicking off here, and you kind of get a quick look at the map, as you can see, this is one of the least complex maps, actually, that you will have stumbled across so far in this campaign. It's only a few zones worth of area, because it is all very wide open terrain. No real obstacles per se, other than, I suppose, the vertibird itself. And a number of individuals on the proverbial battlefield. So with that, we'll go ahead and set up turn order here. And we'll start figuring out how everyone wants to start approaching this situation and how it plays out.
Had seeing the power armor, Aiden just kind of nudges Katya. I want it. I think I need it.
I mean, oh,
I mean,
okay.
maybe not that specific, but you know, maybe if we happen to strip it off the corpse, that's okay.
I mean, it is definitely something I could see you having. Yes, yes. You know, if they all survive, or if they don't all survive, we'll just take it. It'll be fine.
Totally fine.
Totally fine. Completely fine.
And
Oh God, are we becoming like these
Aiden,
people
what
out
is
here?
your initiative score?
13. Roll 20 just does not like me rolling initiative.
No worries, no worries. And then let me get our opponents in here as you assess your situation here. So many people involved in this situation. Our Wastelanders. And the super mutants. So this will be your first encounter with super mutants, obviously, specifically for the vault dwellers. That seems generally obvious, but Betty, you as well would not have seen a super mutant before. They are not necessarily super common out here in this particular wasteland, or at least up until this point, it didn't seem as though they were. All right, let's go ahead and get this ordered. Perfect. All right, so as things initially kick off here, the Paladin, as that is actually what the individual in the power armor is within the Brotherhood. They are what is known as a Paladin. It takes that rank within that organization to be bestowed the right to actually utilize power armor, since it is still in a limited supply. He goes ahead and fires off and is taking a shot here at one of the mutants down below that seems to be attacking the group of Wastelanders that are down there. So he will go ahead and take a shot with his improved laser rifle. And unfortunately comes up short on that. That is going to then bring us to the Super Mutant Master that is out on the field there. He is going to actually go ahead and reposition. And he is going to be taking a shot back at the Paladin. And he is using a big old minigun in regards to his armament there. He did get a success, but it's not enough actually to beat the defense of the Paladin, so that is going to come up as a miss for him as well. And that will then bring us into Katya. What are you thinking that you'll want to do here?
see. Mm. Yeah, I don't know, because we don't know who exactly the bad guy is.
Well, you can tell from what's at least happening here. There are some kind of humanoid looking things. Not exactly sure what these are. Attacking a group of what appears to be travelers. And as far as every description that you've heard, a third group involved in this situation would be the Brotherhood of Steel, which you've heard a little bit about, and based on what these individuals are wearing and the vehicle that they have available to them, it seems to you that this is probably who you've heard of. So it's kind of your call at this point. There's definitely 3 separate parties involved in the proceedings here.
I think I'm just gonna hold my action.
All right. Gonna move anywhere or anything like that, or just holding and staying put?
No, just holding and staying put.
All right. You were absolutely able to reserve a pass on your turn there. Betty, that would bring us to you.
All right. Betty exclaims,
Oh, we've got to help those people.
and zooms, i.e. sprints, ahead of the paladins or the Brotherhood.
All right. Getting into that kind of the same zone, at least, as the Wastelanders themselves.
Yes.
All right. Was there any minor action that you wanted to take this
And then
round?
waving them on. I guess draw my knives.
All righty. Nothing wrong with getting a little prepped there. And so after Betty whizzes across the field here, that brings us to Aiden.
And we move diagonally through zones, so can I, with a sprint, get to the same zone as the mutant?
Yes.
That's exactly what I'm going to do then. I'm going to come up behind them and just ready, draw, whatever I need to do here.
Which of your weapons are you readying there?
These seem like they're going to be fun to punch, so let's go with the knuckles.
All right. Sliding the knuckles onto the hands there. And then that is going to bring us to the additional Brotherhood individuals here outside of the Paladin. So the Lancer and the 2 Knights that are in tow here. And they're going to, as a way to kind of speed the combat process up, since we do have so many individuals involved, they're going to work as a collective unit here, essentially. So we will have one of them make a check, and the other ones will just end up doing an assist here with it. And they are not rolling well. So basically at this point, there's just a stream of laser fire making its way from the area of the Vertibird and the Brotherhood off into the direction of the super mutants and the Wastelanders themselves as well. You can't quite tell at this point whether or not the Brotherhood is trying to potentially help these individuals or if they're trying to wipe everyone out. You aren't really sure. But unfortunately for them, they come up short. Then that'll bring us to our Wastelanders, who are going to go ahead. There are two of them who are melee based and one who is using a firearm, so they will act somewhat separately here. The melee will work together, and then the firearms will run on their own there. So first and foremost for the melee. No, roll 20 is just not liking the results on this tonight. And then our firearms character. Aha! Someone's finally going to end up hitting something. So he would have been taking a shot at Super Mutant 1 here. And that will definitely hit. So we'll go ahead and make a damage check for him. All right, 5. And not piercing, so the armor will still come into play here. All right. That will still get a bit of damage through, so that is going to bring Super Mutant 1 down to just 9 hit points remaining. And that is then going to bring us to the Super Mutants, who, for the most part, other than the Master, are also going to kind of just work in a concert here in the two pairings that they have. So the regular Super Mutants will go, and then the Super Mutant Brutes. That will give us... That is going to be enough to get a hit off. And... with piercing. All right. So that's going to focus in on Wastelander 1 here, first and foremost. All right, that means all of it's coming through. So the two mutants swinging their swords wildly at the Wastelanders. One does end up connecting with a huge gash across one of these travelers' chests there, slashing right through their heavy clothing and road leathers, and you can see blood kind of start pouring out from them a little bit. And then finally the brutes will go ahead and take their turn. That is also going to generate a hit, and with the bonus going on there. All right.
These poor travelers.
And that is going to be towards Wastelander 2. As a whirl of super sledges, these large, massive sledgehammer type weapons that are made with a pneumatic head so that they kind of bash out with extra force, go cracking into one of the other Wastelanders here, seemingly almost, from what you can tell at this distance, nearly collapsing the entire chest area of that individual. He stumbles down to one knee and gasping desperately for air as this massive hammer smashes into him. That'll bring us back up to the top again with the Paladin going ahead and taking yet another shot into the fray. And rolling much better than they did last time. So they're going to be hitting the Super Mutant Master here with their modified laser rifle. And that is going to be 1 with piercing. All right. So that is going to be a nice heavy hit to the Super Mutant Master. All right, yeah, they will take 5 of that. And then the Master is going to retaliate in kind with their minigun and trying to focus in on the Paladin, specifically in the power armor there. And they're also doing a little bit better this time around. All right, 4. That is, I don't believe, going to be enough to quite pierce through the armor there. No. So that is going to hit them in the left arm. So that is dealing damage directly to the power armor's left arm specifically. So power armor actually functions a little bit differently than any other protective gear in the game, whereas it has its own health actually associated to it that can be whittled away slowly but surely. And that will then in turn bring us back down to Katya. So Katya, at this point, seeing a spray of laser fire, munitions fire, and the glinting of swords swiping through the air and hammers flailing about, you see 2 of these would-be travelers just get very quickly seemingly pummeled by these large, brutish beasts that seem to be moving in on them as the Brotherhood fires wildly off in the direction of these massive creatures. What is it that you would like to do here?
I think I'm gonna. Could I get down near Aiden?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you do a single move action, it'll allow you to move 1 zone, and if you do a sprint as a major action, you can get down 2 zones.
Yeah.
All
That's
right,
what I
so
do.
moving right down to Aiden there. And that would still leave you with a minor action if you wanted to take one. Is there anything you want to use as a minor action for this turn?
I have to remember what a minor action is. I think she's going to aim on the person right in front of him. Front of
Okay,
her.
so into the Super Mutant Brute number
Mhm.
1 there on the map.
Yep.
All right, taking an aim shot. And then that will bring us to Betty.
Okay. Seeing as my knives are probably not going to be very effective against large super mutants and such, I might be able to be useful in a different way. So as I zoom forward, the knives go back to their magnetic strip. I'm gonna grab the Wastelander with the 1 hit point.
Wastelander 2 there? Yeah.
Yeah. And drag him away.
All right. Go ahead and give
Assuming
me
he's
an
less than
athletics
150
check.
pounds. I don't know, is he less than 150 pounds?
Yeah. You'll be
Okay.
able to potentially drag him, but go ahead and give me an athletics check to see how well this works out here.
Probably not well at all, because that is my strength, which is my lowest score.
So you'll be able to get him pulled back a couple of spaces here. We'll go ahead and drag him to there. But you do manage to at least draw him away from the large hulking individual that's wielding a hammer that was in front of him.
Hmm.
And that'll bring us then over to Aiden.
All right, time to hit something.
That is what Aiden is prone to do. That is for certain.
Sure is.
Are you planning on moving in on the super mutant brute there that's in front of
Yes.
you? All right.
Sure am.
So you'll want to move into reach range. So there'll be a 1 space forward for you. I'll go ahead and move you up there. And
All right.
with
thank you.
2 on the super mutant brute, that will be... That is enough to
also
hit.
going to choose with my new perk to make that a stun.
All right. And that is going to also generate you an action point here because it beats the actual target that you were shooting for actually hitting them. So that'll put the pool up to 4 action points total that you have available. Now, you're just using the knuckles, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you'll just want to go ahead and make a damage check then. All right, and
Great.
do you have any effects available on
yeah.
the knuckles?
Well, with the perk that I just took when we leveled, I can choose to strike a specific location, and the attack gains the stun damage effect. So I'm just gonna punch him in the back of the head.
All right, so it is a headshot, and we got 1, 2, 3.
Donkey punch.
All right, and that's going to go ahead and cause the stun effect on them due to your perk. And then let me check out their
Hey, Aiden's just so bold. Just donkey punching.
and is that is physical, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So they do have a helmet on.
Okay.
And unfortunately, from what you can tell, it doesn't look like he necessarily ended up doing any damage with the punch. It seems like the helmet was able to absorb most of it. However, what I'm going to allow for, since your roll there was essentially 3 effect rolls, one, you're going to get your stun off. So that will, just to make sure we don't forget, I'll go ahead and put a little icon on here for him. Let's use... that'll work. That can be our little stun icon. So he will be stunned, and I'm also going to go ahead and allow for the hit to have knocked the helmet off of the head in the process of the hit. So that will leave his head exposed in the future if you end up deciding to make any other further headshots. That is going to then bring us to our Brotherhood brethren who are out here as well, that are going to go ahead and take shots at the super mutants. All right, that is actually going to be enough to get a shot off on Super Mutant 2 here. So let me go ahead and we'll roll damage, and for that it's going to be slightly increased because we're going to assume that the others are following suit. All right, and that will be piercing, so that will get past the power or the body armor a little bit. Or a lot of it. So all of that is actually going to get through on Super Mutant 2 because the piercing effect will get fully past the armor protection that they have there, which is going to drop Super Mutant 2 down to 5 health. And that will then bring us to our Wastelanders. So at this point, just for a recap to those watching at home, let's let's get as much of these folks onto the screen as that we'll be able to there. So we've still got quite the little cluster going on down here with the Vault Dwellers having snuck up and tried to flank in behind the mutants, while Betty is working on pulling at least one of the Wastelanders away from their potential inevitable doom, and the Brotherhood remains in the back, firing from a distance with their rifles. So, at this point, it'll be Wastelander 1 who will be our primary focus, actually, and he's going to go ahead and try to swing at that super mutant, obviously right in front of him, and see if he can't at least do a little bit more damage to him. And is not going to be hitting, unfortunately, for him. That will then bring us to, as Wastelander 2 is kind of a bit stunned himself and won't be able to act this round, and is currently also just being pulled away by Betty. That'll leave us with just Wastelander 3, who's going to go ahead and take a shot with their gun at Super Mutant 1. And that is going to generate a hit. All right. That is going to be a fair bit of damage, but it doesn't have piercing, so that does mean that they will negate some of it. Not a lot, though. So that will be leaving them with an injury as well, dropping that particular super mutant down to 3. Then, in the process there, I'm also going to say that Wastelander 1 took a step back, since they would still also be able to make a minor action there. The super mutants are going to act next then, which is going to prompt Super Mutant 2 to actually cross the boundary and chase after the initial Wastelander and take a swing at him. The other super mutant is also going to cross over here and assist him, essentially trying to pin him in. We'll give a check on that real fast. That is unfortunately going to be a hit, which is probably not going to go too well for this guy. Yeah, and that does have piercing. So that is going to, unfortunately for Wastelander 1, spell their inevitable demise, bringing them down to 0 health. And we'll put a little X on them here to denote that they are dead. And we'll try to remember to pull them off the initiative order as we come back through around the next time here. The Super Mutant Brute is going to make his way in and attempt to hit Wastelander 3, while the other one is going to turn around and shift focus onto Aiden. So let's go ahead and see here. All right, Aiden, what is your defense rating?
1.
All
Pretty
right,
sure.
so that is going to hit just exactly. All right, that is going to be 3 physical damage that you'll take from the weapon there. Remember to remove your damage resistance. The location that you were hit was the torso. So right in the chest with a big, huge pneumatic hammer. And then as for our other friend there, yeah, looks like he's going to get hit as well. All right, that is a nastier hit than what Aiden had to take. So the ghoul also gets clocked right in the side of the torso with this big pneumatic hammer, and just kind of crumples under the weight of it and kind of stumbles back a little bit. And that will bring us back up to the top of the order here, where the Paladin is going to continue firing off shots. Based on the current situation, I think they're going to go ahead and take a pop at Super Mutant 1 in an effort to put down one of the almost dead-looking super mutants here. That will be enough to actually go ahead and hit. And that is going to be not quite enough to put him down. That is going to leave him at 1 hit point actually remaining. Because good old armor. So he does manage to put a shot into the mutant's arm there in an attempt to disarm him, but doesn't quite do enough damage to actually get the sword to fall out of his hand, and the mutant keeps a hold of this big, what looks to be like a vertibird blade that has been fashioned into a sword that he is using. And that'll bring us to the Super Mutant Master, who is going to continue attempting to fire on the Paladin as he continues stepping forward with his minigun. That, I believe, is going to be enough to hit. Oh, but he is just not rolling good for a minigun. The trick with a minigun is you really want to get those effects because it has a lot of them and it gets really nasty when that happens. But the spray of bullets keeps tapping into the Paladin's armor there and just ting 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 as he just stands there taking it as though he were a human tank. And that is going to bring us back around to Katya. So at this point, we'll take a quick refresher and look at the current status of the battle map here. As you can see, there's quite the cluster forming in the center region here around what is now one dead Wastelander and a number of mangled other bodies. Is gunfire and lasers spray across the area. And then a little bit further down, we have Katya and Aiden, who are face to face with a large hulking super mutant brute armed with a super sledge and down one helmet.
I think she's gonna move up here. She's actually gonna whack them with the fire axe she picked up.
All right, go ahead and give me a attack roll on that. That is enough to get past the defense, so you can go ahead and roll damage. And do you have any effects on the fire axe?
Piercing 1.
Piercing 1.
But
All right.
question, with her perk of awareness, because she did take aim at him, does it apply?
Yes. I will say yes.
Cool, because it says the next attack you make against the target gains piercing 1 damage effect or improves the rating of any existing piercing X damage effect by 1.
All right, so that is going to be enough to get through the armor there. So all of that is actually going to end up passing through to them, which is 4. All right, so you've pulled them down to 10 out of 14 HP. And that will bring us to Betty.
Yes. Seeing that the super mutants are kind of lined up just so nicely. And now that they've invaded my little triage center that I was going to set up, Betty zooms over.
The first step in this recipe is to get your water boiling.
And is going to unleash a gout of flame over Super Mutant 1, hoping to hit the others.
All right, go ahead and give me an attack check here. Let's see how this goes. And just as a reminder, you do have 4 action points in the pool if you decide you want to use that for any extra dice or anything like that.
I think I will, unless anybody has any objections.
Are we just using 1 for a single extra die? Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know what? Well, no, I'll take the complication, but
I mean, you do have your full 6 luck points again.
that's true. Yeah, why not? I'll just go ahead and roll that.
All right.
Where am I dice? There we go. There we go. That's better.
Well, at least not a complication. Didn't get an extra success out of it, but all right. So that is going to be enough to hit. So go ahead and roll me damage. Now, do keep in mind, if you want to roll additional damage die, you are able to spend additional ammo up to the rate of the weapon. So if the flamer happens to have a rate of higher than 1, you can potentially add more ammo to it to get more damage out of it.
All right. Okay, I'm looking at spread here. Attack inflicts an additional hit on the target. Each additional hit inflicts half. Hits a random location, even the specific weapon. All right. So now I'm good with just the 3 for now.
Okay, because it does have a rate of 4, I see there. So you could throw 4 additional damage dice onto the roll if you wanted to.
No, I'll do 1 extra.
All right, so it'll be 2 ammo that you'll spend there. And you can go ahead and either use your damage dice up at the top and select the amount that you have, or you can do the shot from down there. All right, and you did trigger the effects of the flavor there. So that is
burst, persistent, and spread.
All right, lovely. That's 1, 2, 3.
Oh, that poor traveler. I think I cooked him a little bit.
So burst is the one that does to additional targets, correct?
The attack may hit 1 additional target within close range of the primary target.
Okay, and then spread is the one that does an additional hit location, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So let's find out what the hit locations are. Going to hit left leg twice on him, so it's going to stack up. And that is going to be...
And I'll use the extra fuel for the burst to hit Super Mutant 2.
Okay.
Do I just re-roll the same damage, or do they just get the same damage?
The additional target gets its own damage.
Okay. Just regular, or the same amount that I rolled for the other one?
The regular amount for that one.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
All right.
So just sweep across, getting Super Mutant 1, and then napalming Super Mutant 2.
Number 2 is going to get... Okay, his armor...
And cook at 5,000 degrees.
So it doesn't hit Super Mutant 2 nearly as bad. Granted, he had a little bit more health. I think Super Mutant 1 was kind of in the position of they were going down if any of it got through anyway, but Super Mutant 1 does kind of drop to the ground in a burning heap at right next to the corpse of the Wastelander that he had just killed there, and the spray off does splash across Super Mutant 2 and does seem to catch their arm on fire there as well, and is kind of staying lit there, so we'll potentially be taking damage in the next round as well. That will bring us back to Aiden.
Hit him again.
All right, go ahead and give me a swing. That's going to hit.
All right. I am going to, with Slayer, I'm going to spend a luck and make that a critical and an injury.
All right. I'll leave you
Gotta
with
give Aiden golf claps.
4 luck there.
That would be 2 and an effect.
All right, and that will bring them down to...
I love that Aiden can go one-on-one with the super mutant. This is awesome.
fist fighting a super mutant.
Actually, that should be 2 hits because I took a point of damage, so my target number is 14 now. So that should be 2 hits. One of them critical.
All right.
Math.
So that brute is looking a little rough at this point. And that's going to bring us over to... Oh, and... yeah, okay. The Brotherhood will take their shots into the fray here. That'll do it. And since it's going to be a group of them, that will up the damage to there. All
Pew, pew.
right, and that is going to put down, well, actually I think they were going to have gone for the master there. So it's probably not going to put them down, but yeah. Brings him down to 11 though. So he is under half health now at this point. And then our remaining Wastelanders here. We can remove Wastelander 1 because they are off the list at this point. 2 and 3. 2 begins fleeing back towards the Brotherhood, screaming, "Oh God, please save me, help, help, help." The other Wastelander is slowly backing away and firing as they do so. And they will go ahead and take their shot.
Because I'm not throwing away my shot.
2. And that'll give vicious. Okay. That will be enough to put down Super Mutant 2. Give them a little dead symbol. Alright, so as he cracks off shots, the super mutant whose arm was still engulfed in flames there takes a couple bullets to the chest and slumps down to the ground alongside the pile of the rest of the bodies that are starting to build up over in that area. That is then going to bring us to the super mutants. So the regular ones at this point are no more. But we do still have the brutes left. So the first brute here, Super Mutant Brute 2, is going to come over towards Betty and take a swing. All right, that is going to be one success. I assume that equals the defense. All right.
Yep. Oh my good God.
That is going to be 9 physical damage that you can reduce by your damage resistance for your arm 2.
Hey. That's my flamer. Wow.
And that is enough damage getting through as well that you will be taking an injury in that particular appendage there. So it is sparking and
it's practically dangling by
kind of
like
just
a few cables.
with a twitch here and there and a impotent sputter of flame out of the flamer nozzle. As it quickly tries to disarm what it sees as a potential serious threat, having helped to burn to death potentially 2 of the super mutants here. And the other one is going to be stunned this round, but that will now clear out. But they will not be able to act this round since I am not feeling like spending one of my AP to have this super mutant break through the stun. That will then bring us back up to the paladin, who is going to again take a shot at the super mutant master here. And I believe for the master that still gets through. I don't think their defense is any higher than 1. No, it's just a 1. So that will go ahead and constitute a damage roll. That is piercing. So that's going to drop their DR by 2. In the left arm. All right, so. Not quite enough to do another injury to him, but a good chunk of that comes through. Unfortunately, since it didn't do an injury, it won't prevent the super mutant from continuing to use the minigun. Since it is a two-handed weapon, if one of the arms could be crippled, that would obviously prevent further use of it. The super mutant master, in return, is going to fire back on the paladin, and is essentially just hoping that eventually gets a good enough damage roll here to actually get bypassed on that nasty, nasty power armor. But no, unfortunately, as they continue just slowly making their way in a advanced pace towards the paladin there, and just continuously letting the minigun rattle off bullets, it just still feebly bounces off of the metal shell that encases this individual. And that is going to bring us back to Katya. So, Katya, what are you feeling at this point?
Smack them once with the fire axe. We're doing it again.
All right. And you can go ahead and get an aim action in again as your minor action if you want to.
Yeast.
All right.
Imagine
good
Katya
damage.
just like, oh, where are we gonna put this thing?
Now you do have your full luck contingent back at this point, so if you do want to re-roll any of those, you can. It's 1 luck point per die that you re-roll.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna reroll one.
All right.
So, dang it.
Well, you could still try to re-roll the other one.
Fine.
All right.
We'll see. Hey.
Hey,
Hey.
luck is smiling upon you there. And the nice
Is
part
it?
about that is that it's actually going to generate you an action point for the group. So even
That
though
is a
it
good one.
did eat up a bit of your luck, you did raise the AP level back up to 4. And that means you can also go ahead and roll me a damage check.
I did.
And you have piercing, correct?
Yes, but with her aim action, she gets that extra thing.
All right. And I think that is enough then to take that super mutant brute that you two have been working on with the fists and axe finally down. So after a couple good punches from Aiden, a nice solid left and right hook, as well as a couple whacks from an axe from Katya, it finally puts this lumbering beast down to the ground and takes him
She's
out.
whacking and yakking and whacking. She's yakking and whacking.
All right, and that will bring us back to Betty.
Oh, yeah. There's a huge ass dent in her torso, and arm is dangling. Don't think I can take another shot like that. So going to retreat to the safety of the paladins. However, on her way by, can I throw a knife at the master?
Yeah, since moving from the one zone to the other is just a minor, you can still make your attack as you're moving through, essentially.
Cool. So as Betty zooms off, just flicks out a pincer arm, and a knife goes flying out.
Launching a knife at the super mutant master.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can go ahead and make your throwing check
Yeah.
there for me.
And I'm gonna use an AP.
Gonna use an AP. All right.
1.
And that is going to hit, so you can go ahead and give me a damage.
It probably didn't pierce anything, but
All right. Nope, looks like it sticks just into the armor of the big hulking beast there, and it doesn't even seem to draw its attention in any way, shape, or form, as though the armor completely absorbed it and it didn't even notice. But you do whiz back behind the paladin there, and then that will bring us to Aiden.
Gonna slide up here next to the other super mutant brute and punch him.
Sounds good.
Aiden, punch.
Woohoo!
Oh,
That's going to generate some action points for you.
hey,
All right, so we are up to 5 AP back into the pool now at this point, and you can certainly go ahead and give me a damage check.
Let's actually go ahead and throw a stun on that one. I'm gonna try to punch him in the stomach.
All right. Oh, very nice.
That would be 5, 1, 2, yep, with 2 effects.
All right, so the armor does absorb a little bit of that, but that's still 3 damage getting through past his armor. As you pop him in the gut, and then I'm going to go ahead and add our little icon here to remind us that next round he will be dealing with a stun, and that will bring us up to the Brotherhood here, who once again will continue providing some cover fire here to the individuals trying to get back from the super mutants, and that is going to be enough to get a shot off. This is going to be onto the super mutant brute there. Ooh, no, there we go. 5, and that is going to pull down their armor because of the piercing effect on that. All right, so Super Mutant Brute 2 is starting to look quite rough now at this point as well. That's going to bring us to our Wastelanders, who are going to continue pulling back. As this one is going to come up as close to the vertebrate as possible. This one is going to go ahead, though, and actually take a shot here at the Super Mutant Master. Since he does have a firearm and can do so from range. That is enough to get a hit. Wow, that is quite a hit too. So with his vicious, that will... Whew! Almost took him out there.
Oh,
Very, very nearly.
Cojones, certainly.
That one's done. So Super Mutant Brute 2. He actually takes a look around the battlefield and starts realizing, oh wait, no, he's stunned. That's what he's doing. Haha, that's right. Paladin is now up. And
Finish him.
let me remove that icon from him just in case he survives to his turn again, which I very much doubt, but hey, you never know. So yes, the Paladin is going to attempt to put down the Super Mutant Master, which is, unless he misses, which he did not, is going to be very likely. Yes, that is more than enough to finish the job on the Super Mutant Master here. Bring him down to 0. And then the Super Mutant Master would have gone, but he is now dead, so that is Katya.
She doing a zoomy up here to help her friend out.
And I assume flailing that axe as soon as you
Whack.
get up there?
Yup. We do a whack.
Oh, yeah.
There is angry whack.
That is a very angry whack.
And that is also going to generate a little bit of action points. So let me get that into the bucket.
I feel like that's a whole arm chopped off.
Full.
Hey, look, somebody hit Betty, and now her and Aiden have some anger to work out.
All right. That
It's true.
will hit in the arm. So let's double check their damage resistance. Whew. Very close, Katya.
Oh no!
Very close. And that is going to bring us to Betty.
You know what? I'm gonna zoom back in to assist. Assist Aiden.
Okay, going to do an assist on the check with Aiden.
Yeah. Do I have to do a check on that?
Nope. What will end up happening here is when Aiden goes ahead and checks, as long as Aiden hits, you will then be able to roll an additional die to potentially assist and then do damage.
Okay.
So, Aiden, go ahead and make your check, because I assume you're taking a swing.
Sure am.
You don't need my help.
All right, and go ahead and make your assist check there as well.
Sure, why not? Use my melee weapons because that is stabby with a knife. Stab, stab. Oh,
All right, and go ahead and
yeah.
roll me your damage.
I did not see that one coming.
All right, so he's got to deal with a total of 4 damage there against his damage resistance. Yep, you guys brought him down. All right, so that will end the combat here. And experience-wise, well, I'll total all of that up. There's going to be quite a bit there for you. But as the fight kind of comes to a close there, the knights begin looking over the 2 Wastelanders here as the paladin in power armor walks up to you, and you hear a feminine voice come through the synthesized speaker of the helmet. Well, well, well. What do we have here? And that is where we will wrap up Season 1 of Fallout Windy Wasteland. When we return in Season 2, we will find our players dealing with the Brotherhood of Steel, who they have now first met in this wide, wide wasteland. And with the amount of things that they just took out, there's a very real chance that they may even be very close, if not at, another level. So we'll find out how things pick back up when we return in Season 2 of Windy Wasteland. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this wonderful first season. It's been an absolute pleasure running this game for a wonderful cast of folks, including those who have come and gone over the course of the season and will hopefully rejoin us over the course of Season 2. So you should hopefully, as long as we can work out all the schedules, see all of the wonderful faces that you see here, as well as a few of the wonderful faces that you saw previously in the season earlier on. But with that said, we will go ahead and let you all go for now, and we love you, and see you in Season 2. Take care, everybody.